Snow fell thick enough to swallow the abandoned city whole. Ruined buildings stood silent as gravestones, blanketed white under the pale yellow light of winter twilight. They didn't worry when they saw her step out of the armored vehicle. A woman. New commander. Sniper. Are we really trusting our lives to her? Someone whispered through the radio. 5 minutes later, 12 enemies lay motionless in the snow, and no one dared to doubt again. The city had been dead for 3 months. That's what the briefing said. 3 months since the last civilian evacuation. 3 months since the regional government collapsed. 3 months since anyone had reason to be here except the wrong kind of people. The convoy rolled through streets that no longer had names. Street signs lay buried under snow and rubble. Buildings leaned against each other like wounded soldiers, their windows blown out, their walls pocked with bullet holes that told stories no one wanted to hear. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Vance watched it all through the reinforced window of the lead vehicle. Her breath didn't fog the glass. She'd learned years ago to breathe shallow in the cold, to keep her body temperature down, to become part of the winter itself. "Thermals reading negative across all sectors," said Petty Officer First Class Derek Hammond from the front seat. He didn't turn around when he spoke. "If anyone's here, they're good at hiding." "They're here," Vance said. Hammond's shoulders tensed. She noticed everything. The convoy consisted of 3 vehicles carrying 12 operators. SEAL Team 7, reactivated for a specific purpose. Locate and extract a high-value target who'd gone dark in this frozen graveyard. Intelligence suggested the target was hiding in a fortified position somewhere in the city's eastern sector. Intelligence also suggested the route was clear. Intelligence was often wrong. Vance had read the mission file 17 times. She'd memorized the city layout, studied satellite imagery from before the bombardment, analyzed weather patterns for the past week, wind direction, snowfall density, temperature fluctuations that affected sound travel. She knew this place better than some of the men knew their own hometowns. The vehicles stopped at a predetermined checkpoint, an intersection where 4 streets met in a cratered plaza. The fountain in the center had frozen mid-spray, creating a sculpture of ice that caught the dying light. "Dismount," Vance said into her radio. 12 operators exited the vehicles in practiced silence. They moved like shadows despite their gear, spreading into defensive positions without needing orders. These were professionals, veterans, men who'd survived situations that killed other men. They were also men who'd never served under her before. Vance was the last to step out. Her boots hit the snow without sound. She wore the same gear as everyone else, plate carrier, helmet, weapon, but she carried an additional rifle case across her back. Custom, familiar weight. The cold hit her face like a fist. -15 degrees Celsius, not accounting for wind chill. The kind of cold that made bullets fly different, that made metal brittle, that made mistakes fatal. "Sir," said Chief Petty Officer Marcus Chen, approaching from the left flank. "Perimeter's secure. No movement detected." "Yet," Vance said. Chen hesitated. "Yet," he agreed. She scanned the surrounding buildings. 5 stories, 7 stories, a collapsed parking structure, a church with half its steeple missing. Every window was a potential hide. Every rooftop a potential position. Too quiet. Cities were never this quiet, even dead ones. There should be wind sounds, settling rubble, animals scavenging. This silence was deliberate, controlled. "Hammond," she said into the radio, "check your thermal again. Widen the scan radius." A pause. "Ma'am, I'm showing weight." Everyone froze. "Thermal signature. North-northeast. 8th floor of the apartment block. Faint. Could be residual heat. From..." "It's not residual," Vance said. "They're masking their signatures. How many positions can you track?" 3 confirmed, maybe 4. She closed her eyes for 2 seconds. Calculated. Wind from the west at 12 kilometers per hour. Visibility dropping as twilight deepened. Enemy positions elevated with overlapping fields of fire. Classic ambush formation. When she opened her eyes, Chen was watching her. So was Hammond. So were the others, though they pretended not to. Waiting to see what the new commander would do. Waiting to see if she'd get them killed. They'd received the orders 3 days ago. New commanding officer for the extraction mission. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Vance. Decorated service record. Multiple tours. Specialized training classifications that were mostly redacted. And female. That last detail shouldn't have mattered. Every operator in SEAL Team 7 had trained alongside female sailors, worked with female officers, served under female commanders in various capacities. Professionalism was standard. Respect was mandatory. But this was different. This was direct combat operations in hostile territory under someone they'd never worked with before. Someone whose reputation was a file full of black bars and classified stamps. Someone who'd arrived at the briefing, said maybe 20 words, and then spent 2 hours studying maps in silence. Chief Chen had served for 16 years. He'd seen commanders who talked too much and commanders who didn't talk enough. He'd learned to read people by what they didn't say, by how they moved, by the decisions they made under pressure. Vance was unreadable. She didn't posture, didn't try to prove herself, didn't give the speeches new commanders usually gave about teamwork and trust. She just existed in a space between authority and invisibility, watching everything, saying nothing unless it mattered. It made some of the team uncomfortable. Petty Officer Second Class Jacob Torres had muttered something during the vehicle ride. Nothing explicit, just a question about whether someone fresh should be running point on an op this sensitive. Hammond had shut him down fast. She's not fresh. Look at her gear. Torres had looked. They all had. Vance's rifle was old. Not worn out, maintained to perfection, but clearly used for years. The stock had been modified. The scope housing showed marks from countless adjustments. The suppressor had been replaced at least twice based on the threading marks. That wasn't a weapon you got issued. That was a weapon you'd earned, that you'd bled with. Still, combat experience didn't always translate to command competence. Chen, Vance said now, pulling him from his thoughts. How long have you been in? 16 years, ma'am. Then you know what a kill box looks like. He glanced at the surrounding buildings again. At the elevation. At the overlapping angles. Yes, ma'am. We're standing in one, she said. They're waiting for us to move deeper before they spring it. Torres spoke up from his position behind a concrete barrier. Thermal only shows 4 signatures. 12 of us. If we push through fast. 4 signatures they're letting us see, Vance interrupted. Smart enemy doesn't show their full strength. They show just enough to draw you in. Hammond checked his equipment. Orders, ma'am? This was the moment. The first real decision. The one that would define whether the team trusted her or merely tolerated her. Vance pulled out a tablet, called up the city map, marked 4 positions. They expect us to advance along this street. Vehicle cover. Standard tactical movement. They've probably got RPGs or heavy machine guns positioned here and here. She zoomed in. We're not going that way. Then where? Chen asked. She smiled. It was thin, cold, through their kill box. But not as targets. No one understood yet. But they would. The thermal scanner flickered. Hammond swore softly. Losing resolution. Interference. Jamming? Chen asked. Maybe. Or atmospheric distortion from the cold. Vance knelt in the snow, set down her rifle case, opened it with practiced movements. Inside lay a weapon that looked like art and science had a violent child. Bolt action. Custom barrel. Scope that probably cost more than most cars. She assembled it without looking, her hands moving through steps memorized by muscle and repetition. They're jamming, she said. Localized. Short range. Means they're closer than the thermal indicates. Torres shifted his position. How close? Close enough that they're worried we'll detect them properly. She finished assembling the rifle, loaded a magazine, chambered a round. The bolt slid home with a sound like a vault locking. Hammond, give me wind data. He checked his handheld device. West by northwest. 11.3 kilometers per hour. Gusting to 14. Temperature? Minus 15 Celsius. Dropping. She nodded. Numbers became calculations. Calculations became solutions. Chen, take 4 operators and establish a position in that collapsed shop. She pointed. You're going to be bait. His expression didn't change. Bait, ma'am? Visible movement. Make them think we're splitting up to flank. Hammond, you take 3 operators up to that church steeple. Elevated position. When they react to Chen's team, you'll have clear sight lines. And you, ma'am? Hammond asked. She stood, shouldering her rifle. I'm going hunting. Torres spoke again. Ma'am, with respect, splitting up in a kill box is exactly what they don't expect, Vance finished. They've set up for a group engagement, crossfire, multiple targets. They want chaos. She met his eyes. We're going to give them precision instead. The wind picked up. Snow swirled through the plaza like ghosts. They're watching us right now, Vance continued, waiting for us to commit, waiting for us to show fear or aggression. Both are mistakes. She started walking toward the church. Not fast, not slow, just walking like someone who knew exactly where they were going and why. After 3 seconds, Chen followed, then Hammond, then the rest. They moved as she'd directed, Chen's team to the shop, Hammond's team to the church, Torres and the remaining operators to a covered position near the frozen fountain. Vance went alone. She entered a building that had once been a hotel. The lobby was destroyed, furniture overturned, walls collapsed, snow drifting through broken windows. She moved through it like water, making no sound, disturbing nothing. Stairwell, dark. She didn't use a light, didn't need one. Her eyes had adjusted. 3rd floor, 4th floor, 5th. The building groaned around her. Structural damage made it unstable, but that was fine. Unstable meant the enemy wouldn't expect anyone to use it. 6th floor. She found a room facing northeast. Good angle on the apartment block where thermal had detected signatures. Good angle on 2 other buildings that could hide spotters. She set up her rifle on a windowsill that no longer had glass. Arranged herself into a shooting position that she could hold for hours if necessary. Through the scope, the city became intimate. She could see individual snowflakes, cracks in distant walls, a window half covered by a tarp. Movement. There. 7th floor. Someone adjusting position behind a barrier. There. Rooftop. Someone with a radio. There. Ground level. Someone who thought darkness was enough cover. She counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12 total. 4 they'd shown on thermal. 8 they'd hidden. Her lips moved silently. Gotcha. All units. This is Vance. Her voice came through the radio calm. Clinical. I have 12 hostile positions confirmed. They have us in a coordinated kill box. Estimated engagement radius 300 meters. Silence on the channel. Then Chen. 12? Thermal only showed. Thermal showed what they wanted us to see. The rest are using cold weather gear and thermal blankets. Smart. Disciplined. Torres's voice. Ma'am, if there's 12 of them and 12 of us, then we're evenly matched. In their territory. With their advantages. She watched through her scope as one of the hidden enemies shifted position. Male, experienced by the way he moved. Weapon looked like a Dragunov. Good rifle. Effective range would overlap with several others. Which is why, she continued, we're going to remove their advantages. Hammond spoke up. How, ma'am? By doing what they don't expect. Chen, I need your team to move in 90 seconds. Not before, not after. Move toward the apartment block. Aggressive, like you've spotted something. That'll draw fire. That's the point. Hammond, when Chen moves, you suppress the rooftop positions. You won't hit anyone they're too covered, but you'll make them keep their heads down. And you, ma'am? I'll be doing what I do best. A new voice cut in. Petty Officer First Class Ryan Mitchell, one of Hammond's team. Ma'am, with respect, if you're suggesting you can eliminate 12 targets while they're actively engaging, I'm not suggesting, Vance said. I'm telling you what's going to happen. In 5 minutes, this intersection will be clear. You'll follow my shot timing. When I fire, you move. When I pause, you freeze. No deviation. The silence on the radio felt heavier than the snow. Finally, Chen, ma'am, we've never run a pattern like that before. I have. 17 times. 14 successful. The 3 failures were because the team didn't trust the timing. What happened to those teams? Torres asked. 2 operators wounded in one. 3 wounded in another. 1 fatality in the third. Direct. Honest. No sugarcoating. This team, Vance said, will not fail. Because you're going to trust me. Or you're going to die here. The words hung in the cold air. Mitchell spoke again. Ma'am, no disrespect, but that sounds like a threat? Vance's voice didn't rise. It's not. It's tactical reality. This enemy is professional. They've done this before. They've killed teams before. They have the high ground, the numbers advantage if we include their hidden positions, and they're patient. She adjusted her scope. But they don't have me. Chen's voice came back different. Thoughtful. You've done this exact scenario before. Not exact. Similar. Urban environment, winter, hidden positions. That time, it was 9 targets. I had 4 minutes. 9 targets. 4 minutes. 0 friendly casualties. The radio went quiet again. Then Chen, 90 seconds. Aggressive movement toward apartment block. Copy that, ma'am. Hammond, rooftop suppression on your signal. Copy. Torres, holding position. Ready to move on your timing. 1 by 1, the rest acknowledged. Vance settled deeper into her shooting position. Her breathing slowed. Heartbeat followed. 60 seconds, she said. The clock started. 55 seconds. Vance's world narrowed to the scope. to the wind data, to the 15 different factors that meant the difference between a hit and a miss at this range. Range to first target, 240 meters. Wind, west-northwest at 13 kilometers per hour. Temperature, -16 and dropping. Humidity, high due to snow. Altitude, negligible difference between her position and targets. Bullet drop compensation, calculated. 50 seconds. She could see Chen's team preparing to move. They were good, patient, waiting for her mark. Through the scope, she tracked enemy positions, numbered them mentally. Target 1, rooftop, northeast corner. Target 2, 7th floor window, suppressed rifle. Target 3, ground level, machine gun position behind rubble. 12 targets total, 5 minutes maximum. That was 25 seconds per target if distributed evenly. But combat wasn't even. Some targets would be harder. Some would expose themselves. Some would panic. She'd built a shooting sequence based on priority, not closest to farthest, not easiest to hardest, based on which targets posed the greatest threat to her team's movement. 40 seconds. Her breathing was controlled now. 4 seconds in. Hold. 6 seconds out. Between breaths, between heartbeats. That's where the shot lived. 30 seconds. All units, stand by, she said. Her finger rested on the trigger. Not pulling, just resting, feeling the tension, knowing exactly how much pressure would release the shot. 20 seconds. She watched target 3 shift position. Machine gunner. He was getting comfortable. Bad sign for him. Good sign for her. Comfortable meant predictable. 10 seconds. Chen, prepare to move. Copy. 5 seconds. The city held its breath. Even the wind seemed to pause. 0. Execute. Chen's team moved. 4 operators advancing in a tactical formation that looked aggressive but kept them in cover-to-cover movement. Fast enough to be threatening, controlled enough to not be suicidal. The enemy reacted exactly as Vance predicted. Target 3, the machine gunner shifted to track Chen's team. Vance exhaled. Between heartbeats. Squeezed. The rifle punched her shoulder. The suppressor reduced the sound to a sharp crack. But in the snow and wind and distance, it would be hard to pinpoint. Through the scope, she watched target 3 drop. Clean headshot. He fell behind his machine gun position and didn't move. 1 down. Keep moving, Chen. She was already acquiring target 6, rooftop position. He'd stood up slightly to get a better angle on Hammond's team. Mistake. She calculated the wind push at that elevation. Adjusted. Fired. Target 6 fell backward. 2 down. The enemy was starting to realize something was wrong. Radio chatter, probably. Confusion. 2 men down and no one had heard concentrated fire. Target 9 on the ground level turned, trying to spot the shooter. Vance put a round through his chest. 3 down. Now they knew. Someone shouted. She couldn't hear it but saw the movement. Panic setting in. Target 4 broke cover, running for a better position. Vance led him by 2 meters. Fired. He crumpled mid-stride. 4 down. Hammond. Suppress the apartment block. Now. Hammond's team opened up. Not accurate fire, they were too far and the angle was wrong, but enough to force the targets in that building to stay behind cover, which meant they couldn't see Vance, couldn't spot her muzzle flash in the fading light and falling snow. She moved to target 2, 7th floor. Good shooter. He was trying to locate her by backtracking the bullet trajectories. Smart, but not fast enough. She fired before he could find her. 5 down. 2 minutes elapsed. 5 targets eliminated. 7 remaining. The enemy was fully aware now. They'd gone from ambush mode to survival mode. Some were repositioning, some were trying to flee. Both options made them visible. Target 8 tried to descend from his rooftop position using an external stairwell. Vance tracked him through 3 steps. Fired on the 4th. 6 down. Target 11 abandoned his position entirely, sprinting across open ground toward a different building. She let him run 15 meters, let him think he might make it. Then she fired. 7 down. 3 minutes gone. 5 targets remaining. Chen, Hammond, hold positions. They're breaking. And they were. The ambush had become a massacre, and the survivors knew it. Target 1 on the northeast rooftop made his move. He was trying to relocate, crawling across the rooftop to a position with better cover. Good tactical thinking. Wrong timing. Vance watched him through the scope, waited until he paused to check his surroundings. Fired. The round took him in the upper chest. He rolled once and stopped moving. 8 down. 4 targets left. 3.5 minutes elapsed. The remaining enemies had gone completely defensive. They'd realized they were being picked apart by a single shooter they couldn't locate. Now they were trying to make themselves invisible. But invisibility required absolute stillness, and stillness meant they couldn't reposition to engage Chen's or Hammond's teams. Stalemate. Except Vance held all the advantages. She scanned for movement. The snow was falling heavier now, visibility dropping. That helped her. She knew where they were. They were guessing where she was. There. Target 7. Apartment block, 5th floor. He was adjusting his radio, probably calling for extraction or reinforcements. Vance's rifle was getting hot despite the cold. She'd fired 8 rounds in under 4 minutes. The barrel needed to cool, but there wasn't time for ideal conditions. She adjusted for barrel heat expansion, minute calculations that most snipers would skip. She didn't skip anything. Fired. Target 7's radio fell silent. 9 down. Torres's voice on the radio. Ma'am, 3 left. Should we advance? Negative. Hold position. They're cornered. Cornered is dangerous. She was right. Target 10 suddenly broke cover, firing wildly in the direction he thought she was. His shots hit buildings 50 meters from her actual position. He was panicking. Fear made him visible. Vance didn't panic, didn't rush. She tracked his movement, calculated his speed, his direction, the probability of where he'd stop. He stopped behind a concrete pillar. She shot through the gap between pillar and wall. 2-inch margin for error. The round found him. 10 down. 2 targets remaining. 4 minutes, 15 seconds gone. The last 2 were smart. They'd stopped moving entirely. Vance scanned their last known positions but saw nothing. Hammond put 1 round into the apartment block, 4th floor, eastern window. Ma'am, do it. Hammond fired. His round smacked into concrete near the window. One of the targets flinched. Just barely. Just enough. Vance saw the movement. Adjusted. Fired. 11 down. 1 target left. 4 minutes, 40 seconds. This one was good. Experienced. He hadn't moved since Vance's killing spree began. He was waiting, hoping she'd think he was already dead or had escaped. Patient, disciplined. She respected that. But respect didn't mean mercy. She studied his position. Ground level, behind overturned vehicles. Good cover from multiple angles. He'd chosen well. But good cover was a trap if you chose wrong. Because once you committed to a position, leaving it exposed you. Chen advanced 20 meters toward the fountain. Slow. Chen's team moved. Tactical. Careful. The last enemy had a choice. Stay hidden and let them advance, or reposition to maintain his shooting angle. 15 seconds passed. He repositioned. Just a small adjustment. Shifting his weight to get a better angle on Chen's team, his rifle barrel moved 6 inches. That was enough. Vance fired her 12th round. 12 down. Silence. Then Chen's voice. Clear. All targets neutralized. Confirmed, Hammond said. No movement detected. Vance stayed in position for another 30 seconds, watching, waiting for a 13th target she might have missed. Nothing. She unloaded her rifle, performed a functions check, packed it away with the same methodical care she'd used to assemble it. 5 minutes, 12 seconds. 12 enemies eliminated. 0 friendly casualties. She stood, shouldered the rifle case, and walked back down the stairs. Her legs were stiff from holding position, but she didn't limp, didn't show weakness. When she emerged from the building, the team was already securing the area. They moved with the professionalism of experienced operators, checking bodies, clearing rooms, establishing a perimeter. But something was different. The way they moved around her, the space they gave, the looks. Chen approached. Ma'am, area is secure. 12 confirmed hostile Kia. We recovered their communications equipment. Good. Call in extraction. I want to be wheels up in 15 minutes. Yes, ma'am. He didn't leave. Just stood there for a moment. Something else, Chief? That was. He paused, searching for words. That was the most precise shooting I've ever witnessed. It was adequate, Vance said. Adequate keeps people alive. But she saw his expression, saw the respect that hadn't been there before. Saw it in Torres's eyes when he approached to report. Saw it in Hammond's stance when he confirmed thermal was clear. They didn't ask questions anymore. Didn't hesitate. Didn't doubt. The gunfire had stopped. The city returned to its previous silence, as if violence were just another type of weather that passed through and moved on. Snow continued falling. Each flake landed softly on the bodies scattered across 300 meters of urban terrain. Soon they'd be covered. Soon this would look like just another corner of a dead city. Nothing special. Nothing worth remembering. Chen's team finished their sweep of the apartment block. Hammond's team cleared the rooftop positions. Torres coordinated body identification and equipment recovery. Standard post-engagement protocol. Check the dead. Document what you find. Leave nothing behind that could compromise operational security. But there was nothing standard about the way they moved now. Every operator kept glancing toward the building where Vance had taken her position. Not obvious looks, just momentary shifts of attention, like they were recalibrating something fundamental about their understanding of capability. Hammond keyed his radio. "Ma'am, recovered enemy communications. Radio chatter suggests they were expecting a larger force. They had contingency plans for up to 20 operators. But not for one shooter," Vance said. "No, ma'am, not for one shooter." She walked through the plaza, snow crunching under her boots. Each step was deliberate, each placement considered. Even now, even with the threat eliminated, she moved like someone who knew the universe was always watching, always waiting for the moment you relaxed. The frozen fountain cast long shadows in the dying light. She stopped beside it, looked up at the ice sculpture that nature had accidentally created. Chaotic and beautiful, random and perfect. "Ma'am." Torres approached from her left. Proper distance, proper respect. "Report," she said. 12 confirmed kills. Enemy weapons included 4 Dragunov rifles, 3 PKM machine guns, assorted small arms. Professional loadout. These weren't irregulars. "No," Vance agreed. "They were trained, experienced, well-equipped." "Then how did they—" He didn't finish the question, but she heard it anyway. "How did they lose so completely?" "They made 3 mistakes," Vance said. "First, they assumed a group target. Second, they revealed 4 positions to make us think we'd found them all. Third, they believed their thermal masking was perfect. Was it? Almost. 98% effective, but not perfect. And in combat, not perfect means dead." Torres nodded slowly. He was young, 26, maybe 27. Still learning that war was mathematics and physics and psychology, all compressed into moments that didn't forgive errors. Chen joined them. Extraction inbound. ETA 10 minutes. "Casualties?" Vance asked. "None. Not even close calls." She nodded. "That was the point. That was always the point. You could win 100 engagements, but if you lost people doing it, you hadn't really won. You'd just traded lives at a better exchange rate than the enemy. Real victory was bringing everyone home." The radio crackled. Mitchell's voice. "All units. This is Hammond. Thermal now showing multiple heat signatures converging on our location. Distance 2 kilometers. Moving fast." Chen swore. "Reinforcements. Or evacuation team for their dead," Vance said. "Either way, we're leaving. Get everyone to the vehicles. Now." The team moved with renewed urgency. Whatever had just happened, whatever shift had occurred in the way they perceived their commander, it hadn't made them complacent. Good. Complacency killed more soldiers than enemy fire. Vance took one last look at the city, at the buildings that had witnessed what happened here, at the snow that was already covering the evidence. This place would keep its secrets. It would forget the 12 men who'd died here. It would forget the woman who'd killed them. Cities were good at forgetting. People weren't. She walked toward the vehicles. Behind her, the fountain continued freezing in shapes that would never repeat. The ride back was different. Same vehicles, same operators, same route through the snow-covered wasteland. But the silence had a different quality. Before, it had been the silence of uncertainty, of doubt, of operators wondering if their new commander would get them killed. Now, it was the silence of processing, of recalculating, of trying to reconcile what they'd witnessed with what they'd assumed was possible. Torres sat across from Vance in the lead vehicle. He'd been the most skeptical during the briefing, the most vocal about his concerns, subtle concerns, professional concerns, but concerns nonetheless. Now he just stared at her rifle case like it was a religious artifact. "Sir," he said finally, "can I ask you something?" "You can ask." "The 5th shot, target 4. He was running perpendicular to your position, wind at 13 kilometers per hour, range approximately 260 meters. How did you calculate the lead time that fast?" Vance didn't answer immediately. She watched the ruins pass by outside the window. "I didn't calculate," she said. "Not consciously. You train enough, calculation becomes instinct. You see the target. Your brain does the math without asking permission. You pull the trigger at the exact moment that feels right, and later, when you review the shot, you realize your subconscious was doing trigonometry at 300 rounds per minute. How long did that take? To develop that instinct? 12 years, 11,407 recorded shots in training and operations, plus or minus a few dozen. Mitchell, sitting next to Torres, whistled low. You counted? I count everything. The vehicle hit a pothole. Everyone absorbed the impact automatically. Years of training, making them fluid even in rough terrain. Chen spoke from the front seat. Ma'am, if you don't mind me saying, we were wrong about you. You were cautious, Vance corrected. Caution is smart. You didn't know me, didn't know my capabilities. Doubt is healthy. But you proved. I did my job, same as everyone here did theirs. You moved when I told you to move. You held when I told you to hold. That's why we're all still alive. She met Chen's eyes in the rearview mirror. Trust goes both ways, Chief. I trusted you to follow my orders. You trusted me to make them count. We both delivered. The convoy approached the extraction point. 3 helicopters were already on the ground, rotors turning, ready for immediate departure. As they exited the vehicles, Hammond approached Vance. He handed her a tablet showing the after-action data, time codes, GPS coordinates, kill sequence analysis. Ma'am, Command is going to want a detailed briefing. I'll provide one. They're going to ask how you did it. Vance glanced at the tablet. 12 targets. 5 minutes, 12 seconds. 0 friendly casualties. Tell them I did what I was trained to do. Nothing more. Nothing less. She handed the tablet back and walked toward the waiting helicopter. Behind her, she heard Torres say to Mitchell, I'm never doubting a commander again. You'll doubt, Chen said, but you'll wait to see results first. Yeah, Torres agreed. Yeah, I will. The helicopter lifted off as darkness swallowed the city. Vance sat in the troop bay, helmet off, eyes closed, not sleeping, just conserving energy, letting her body recover from the adrenaline spike that even experienced operators felt after engagement. The flight would take 90 minutes, plenty of time to decompress. But Chen had other ideas. He moved across the bay, sat down beside her, had to raise his voice over the rotor noise. Ma'am, the team's talking. Let them talk. They're saying you must have classified training, special programs, black operations experience. Vance opened her eyes, looked at him. What are you asking, Chief? I'm asking if there's more we should know about you. Not for gossip, for operational readiness. If we're going to keep working together, we should understand what you're capable of. Fair question. Professional question. She considered how much to tell him. I've been a sniper for 14 years, she said. Started as a designated marksman, then advanced sniper school, then specialized programs that don't have official names. I've deployed 11 times, 4 continents, 6 different operational contexts, ranging from urban to desert to mountain to maritime. And the missions? Most of them don't exist in any database. Success was measured by things that didn't happen, attacks that were prevented, high-value targets who quietly disappeared, crises that resolved themselves because the right person was removed from the equation at the right time. Chen absorbed this. How many? How many what? Confirmed kills. Total career. Vance was quiet for a long moment. The helicopter banked left, heading toward the coast. You don't want that number, she said finally. With respect, ma'am, I do. She met his eyes. 147 confirmed. Probable adds another 32. But confirmed is 147. The number hung in the air between them. Jesus, Chen breathed. Most of those were situations similar to today. Not open combat, not fair fights, precision removal of threats before they could harm other people. That's what snipers do. We don't fight wars. We prevent them. And today? That was prevention? That was elimination of a threat that would have killed extraction teams for the next 6 months. Those 12 operators were the core of a regional cell. Professional soldiers turned mercenaries. They'd ambushed 3 convoys in the past 2 months. 11 casualties total, all from teams like ours. Chen processed this. So, Command sent you specifically. Command sent a team. I was part of it. What happened today happened because everyone did their job. You, Hammond, Torres, Mitchell. Everyone moved when they needed to move, held when they needed to hold. One shooter means nothing without a team supporting them. But you, I pulled triggers. That's the easy part. The hard part is making sure the triggers needed to be pulled in the first place. That's intelligence work. That's planning. That's knowing when to engage and when to extract. Today was a good day because we made smart choices before the first shot. The helicopter began its descent toward the base. Vance stood, checked her gear, prepared to debrief. Chief, she said, tell the team something for me. Ma'am, tell them I'm proud of how they performed. Tell them trust is a two-way street, and they held up their end. Chen nodded. I'll tell them. The base debriefing took 3 hours. Command wanted details, timelines, shot sequences, decision-making processes. Everything documented, analyzed, filed away in systems that would probably classify it above anyone's clearance level. Vance provided it all. Clinical, precise, no embellishment, no false modesty either. She'd done what needed doing. The results spoke clearly enough. Afterward, she found Chen in the equipment maintenance area. He was cleaning his rifle with the methodical care of someone who'd done it 10,000 times. Walk with me, she said. They went outside. The base was quiet at this hour. Most personnel were either sleeping or on duty rotation. The night air was cold, but nothing compared to the city. You asked earlier why I don't talk much, Vance said. I didn't ask that, ma'am. You wanted to. I could see it. Chen didn't deny it. They walked in silence for a moment. I had a commander once, Vance said. Early in my career, he talked constantly, made speeches about honor and sacrifice and brotherhood, gave inspiring pep talks before every mission. What happened to him? He got 6 operators killed because he was so busy inspiring them he forgot to do basic threat assessment, talked when he should have been listening to intelligence reports, worried about morale when he should have been worried about ambush patterns. She stopped walking, looked at Chen. I learned something from him. War doesn't care about speeches. It doesn't care how eloquent you are or how well you inspire people. It cares about decisions, about preparation, about whether you did the work before the trigger got pulled. So you stopped talking. I started talking only when it mattered. Started saving words for moments when they carried weight. Today, when I told you to trust me or die here, that wasn't dramatic effect. That was tactical reality compressed into one sentence. Chen nodded slowly. The team understands that now. Do they? They're calling you Phantom. The name's already spreading. 12 kills in 5 minutes, 0 casualties. They're saying you're the best sniper in the entire special operations community. Vance smiled slightly. They're wrong. I'm the best sniper they've worked with. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah. There's always someone better. The moment you think you're the best is the moment you stop improving. And the moment you stop improving is the moment you become a liability. They reached the edge of the base perimeter. Beyond the fence, darkness stretched forever. Ma'am, Chen said, what happens next for you? After this operation? Another operation. Another mission. Another city that needs someone who can make hard choices in cold places. That sounds lonely. It is. But someone has to do it. She turned back toward the barracks. Get some sleep, Chief. We've got another briefing at 0600. Yes, ma'am. She walked away, rifle case over her shoulder, footsteps measured and quiet. Behind her, Chen watched her go, watched how she moved, how she carried herself. Like someone who'd learned to walk through graveyards without disturbing the ghosts. Like someone who'd seen things that would break most people and had become something harder instead. Like someone who'd earned the right to be silent. In the distance, snow began falling again. Light flakes that wouldn't amount to much. Just enough to remind everyone that winter was always watching. 3 months later, in a briefing room at JSOC headquarters, a new team was being assembled. Different operators, different mission parameters, but one common factor: urban engagement in hostile territory against numerically superior forces. The briefing officer displayed satellite imagery on the main screen. Another city, another winter, another scenario where conventional tactics wouldn't be enough. The enemy has established defensive positions across a 3-block radius. Intelligence estimates 40 to 50 combatants. Trained, well-armed. They've successfully repelled 4 previous extraction attempts. One of the operators in the room, a lieutenant commander named Barrett, raised his hand. Sir, have we considered bringing in specialized support? Someone with experience in this specific scenario? The briefing officer smiled. We have. Lieutenant Commander Vance has already been assigned to this operation. The room went quiet. Everyone knew the name now. The story from the dead city had spread through the community like wildfire. Embellished by some, understated by others who'd actually been there. But the core facts remained unchanged. 12 enemies, 5 minutes, perfect execution. Barrett had served with some of the operators from that mission. He'd heard first-hand accounts. He'd also heard Chen's description, like watching physics solve a problem. When does she arrive? Someone asked. She's already here. The door at the back of the briefing room opened. Vance entered carrying the same rifle case, same quiet intensity, same economy of movement. But something was different. The operators in the room didn't look at her with skepticism. They looked at her with something closer to reverence. "Ma'am," Barrett said, standing. "Sit," Vance said. "Let's see what we're working with." She moved to the front of the room, studied the satellite imagery, pulled up additional files on the tactical display. 2 minutes of silence. Everyone waited. "This is worse than the previous operation," she said finally. "More enemies. Better positioning. They've learned from their previous successes. They're expecting us." "Can we do it?" the briefing officer asked. Vance zoomed in on the imagery. Marked positions, drew sight lines, calculated angles. "Yes, but not the same way. They'll be ready for a single shooter now. We'll need to adjust tactics." She looked at the assembled operators. "I'll need people who can move fast, who can trust their instincts, who won't hesitate when I give orders that seem wrong until they're proven right." Barrett spoke up. "Ma'am, everyone in this room has read the after-action report. We know what you can do. We're ready. The report tells you what happened, not why it happened, not how close we came to complete failure. There was a window of 11 seconds where, if one enemy had looked in the right direction, the entire operation would have collapsed. 11 seconds where success and catastrophe balanced on a knife edge. She let that sink in. "I'm good at what I do, but I'm not magic. I'm not invincible. I succeed because I prepare for every contingency, calculate every angle, and accept that even perfect preparation sometimes isn't enough. You need to understand that before we deploy." "We understand," Barrett said. The others nodded. Vance studied them. These were solid operators, experienced, professional, but they were looking at her like she was a legend instead of a person. That could be dangerous. "Listen carefully," she said. "Legends are people who got lucky at the right moment and survived to tell about it. I'm not a legend. I'm a sniper who's done her job enough times to get good at it. The difference matters." "Why?" someone asked. "Because if you think I'm a legend, you'll expect miracles. You'll take risks based on my reputation instead of tactical reality. And that's how people die." She moved back to the display. "This mission succeeds because we work as a team, because we trust each other, because we execute with precision, not because one person is extraordinary. Clear?" "Clear, ma'am," the room responded in unison. The briefing continued for another hour. Plans were made, contingencies discussed. Every operator received specific assignments tailored to their strengths. When it was over, Vance stayed behind while the others filed out. The briefing officer approached her. "Colonel Marcus Webb, 23 years of service, more successful operations than most people had birthdays." "You downplayed it," he said. "I told them the truth. You told them a truth. The full truth is that you're the most effective special operations sniper we've had in 2 decades. Your success rate is 93% across operations most people couldn't execute at 50%. Statistics don't matter if they make operators complacent." Webb nodded. "That's why you're good at this. You could coast on reputation, take easier assignments, let the legend do the work. The legend is a story. Stories don't pull triggers. No. But they inspire people. That team out there, they'll follow you into situations they'd hesitate at with another commander. That's valuable." Vance packed up her materials. "Only if I don't let them down." "You won't. You can't know that." "I can," Webb said, "because you're still treating every mission like your first, still questioning yourself, still preparing like failure is possible. The day you stop doing that is the day you become a liability. But I don't think that day will come." Vance shouldered her rifle case. "Sir, with respect, every day might be that day. The moment I think I can't fail is the moment I will. Then keep thinking that way. Keep that doubt. It's what makes you effective." She headed toward the door. "Vance," Webb said, "one more thing." She stopped, turned. "The city from 3 months ago, the operation everyone's talking about. I read the classified version of the report, the one that doesn't get shared in briefings. It mentioned you stayed on site an extra 20 minutes after extraction was called. Alone, checking something." Vance's expression didn't change. "Yes, sir. The report said you were confirming kill count. But that wasn't it, was it?" A long moment of silence. "No, sir," she said finally. "I was checking to make sure none of them were kids. Teenagers who'd been recruited. Forced into fighting. The intelligence brief said all targets were adults, but intelligence is wrong sometimes." "Were any of them?" "No, sir. Youngest was 23. But I needed to be certain. Needed to see their faces." Webb studied her. "That's not something legends worry about." "No, sir. It's something human beings worry about. And if I ever stop worrying about it, I need to turn in my weapon and walk away." The doubt again. The doubt always. It's what keeps me human. What keeps me from becoming the kind of person who pulls triggers without conscience. She opened the door. Is there anything else, sir? No. Good luck on the operation. Luck is what you need when preparation fails. We'll be prepared. She left. Webb stood alone in the briefing room, looking at the satellite imagery still displayed on the screen. Another city. Another impossible situation. But he wasn't worried. Because somewhere out there, a woman with a rifle was already planning, already calculating, already preparing for the moment when 11 seconds would mean the difference between success and catastrophe. And she would be ready. She was always ready. Outside the headquarters building, snow began to fall. Vance walked across the base toward her quarters. Her footsteps left clear prints in the fresh snow. Behind her, they began to fill in, slowly erasing. Within an hour, there would be no sign she'd passed this way. That was fine. She didn't need to leave traces. She just needed to do the work. The work of walking into impossible situations and making them possible. The work of carrying a rifle that weighed more than most people's courage. The work of being the person others could trust when trust was the only thing keeping them alive. Somewhere in the world, another city was waiting. Another mission would demand precision. Another team would need someone who could make the impossible look inevitable. And when that call came, she would answer. Not because she was a legend, but because she was a sniper. And this was what snipers did. They stood in cold places. They made hard choices. They pulled triggers when it mattered. And they walked away in silence, leaving behind only the work, never the glory. The snow continued falling. Her footsteps continued fading. And somewhere in the distance, the next mission was already waiting.